Ladies and gentlemen, Tom has got many friends here tonight. He's got many old friends, and one of his old friends is Peter Barke.
Tommy Rayber, you have gathered some 275 friends here. But I think more importantly, you have some 275 friends who have a fond Tommy Rayber story to tell. I think there's a good reason for that. You have a genuine interest in other people and what they do. You are extremely interested in yourself, not least yourself, your health as a true hypochondriac. You're a funny guy, but most importantly, as we've touched upon in several other speeches here, you speak your mind, whether good or bad, positive or negative, something to be proud of or not, as the case may be. I will try and illustrate with a few examples from my own perspective. The very first time I met Tom was in a pub in London, and this white-haired guy in a tight, somewhat shiny suit came up, big beer in one hand, firm handshake in the other, and introduced himself as, "Hi, I'm Tommy Rayber, the coolest guy in the Euro market." So in those days, some people might have said it, but very few people might actually have meant it, which there was no doubt that you did. Leading on the same path a few years later on, you were interviewed on CNN talking about hedge funds. Of course, this was something that you were a little bit proud about, and this had to be communicated to everybody you knew and their friends. You called me up the next day and said, "Hi, it's Peter. Hi, Peter, it's Tommy. As you know, I was interviewed by CNN yesterday." I didn't at the time. The interview is quite a big file. Do you want me to send it as on a CD or as an email? CD in the post is fine. Okay, I'll do that. Bye. Okay. The thought that, I wasn't particularly interested, that just could never ever have occurred. Some 5 years later, Tom was again interviewed on the same program. So he's now been interviewed twice on the same program. And of course, being Tommy Rayber, the only way to start that interview is, "Well, Jack, as I said last time I was on your show." But I think that, especially for those of us who do know Tommy, we have noticed the contrast between being the coolest guy in the Euro market, at least a few years back, and being enormously open and a hypochondriac. When something does happen to you, for example, when your toe got stuck in the lawnmower, that was the most pain that any human had ever endured. Ever. And Tom says it, but he means it. Louise touched upon something that did happen a few years ago when you thought that you had some kind of post-40th midlife crisis, whatever. As you expressed it yourself, you went into some sort of depression mode. Shortly after you had communicated this to everybody you knew, and I remember especially we had a lunch at Norbu in London, very smart, 7 or 8 guys, we were all sitting there, how are things? It's great, I'm doing lots of business, I'm traveling too much, but I'm making good money, blah, blah, blah. And somebody says, and Tommy arrives somewhat late. So, "Tommy, long time no see, how are things?" "Det är inte så bra, jag har depression." And shortly after this depression had been communicated to us, we were up playing golf in Scotland. And Tom not only was still suffering from this depression, he also had some sort of skin disorder, which he was very uptaken about. The rest of us thought it was some sort of problem that teenagers get, but Tom thought it might be cancerous and was quite concerned about it. And Tom's golf is not always a straight line. Tom hit an absolute shit shot. And the rest of the group started laughing hysterically when the ball went like 200 yards left. And Tom just snapped. Skratta inte åt mig. Jag har depression. Jag har eventuellt cancer. Och jag har diarré. But partly as part of that comment, what I think for people who do know you is that you do leave an impression on people, whether it's someone who sat next to you on a plane ride for 2 hours, next to you on a dinner, a round of golf, or something else. You do leave an impression on people. I've heard, we've known each other for some 25 years plus, I've heard some very negative things said about your golfing ability and your skiing ability, which is anything but natural. But I've heard so many positive things about you. And I think that comes from what you do. You do leave a lasting and memorable impression from being, not trying to be funny or anything else, but just being Tommy Raber in a natural way. And that is what I think you do leave with people. I will propose a toast for Tom, Helena, Madeleine, Victor, and young Nils. Skål!
Ladies and gentlemen, as this part of the evening is drawing to a close, I've been firmly instructed by our host to let you know this. Gentlemen coming from Helsingborg and other exotic locations might not be aware of our Swedish customs, but you are supposed to dance at least 2 dances with a lady sitting on your right. Now, what comes after all the juicy and glossy bits? You knew it, the disclaimer. And who better to deliver the disclaimer than our own legal eagle, Olof Claesson?